Community land trusts are nonprofit membership organizations that take a new approach to ownership of land and housing. The 3 land trust stories in this video show some of the ways that local residents in growing numbers of communities across the United States are organizing to gain control over their land and resources and using the land trust model to create a stock of permanently affordable housing.
I was a single mother with 3 children at that time. I just gotten divorced. And I was working 2 jobs and trying to go to school and take care of my kids. And the more money I make, the more they ask for. And I remember there were times when I had maybe $15 left over to carry me on to 2 weeks. And I was getting very frustrated with the system of, trying to have a decent place to live. For me, the future was quite bleak. I just couldn't help but think, what I'm going to do this all my life. I can't get ahead this way. I almost felt like, well, maybe I should just quit, go on public assistance, and let them take care of me. Buying a house was never a dream of mine. I never thought that I could ever afford it. But I was sitting in my office one day, and I was going through the newspaper, and I saw an ad in the paper saying that if you want to own a home, here's an opportunity, no money down. I'm like, right, yeah, right. But I felt like, let me take a chance. I'm going to call. I met the executive director, and I said, well, do you have any vacant houses right now? And she said, yes. And she brought me over to Exum Street, and the house was just in repair. But I loved it. I'm a country girl. I love the old houses. I love the front porch. I went inside, and it had the high ceilings, and I was like, this is it. This is my house.
The organization Linda called was the Durham Community Land Trustees, based in the West End neighborhood in Durham, North Carolina, next to the upscale neighborhood surrounding Duke University. The Durham Land Trust, like many others around the country, was started to improve and preserve the deteriorating local housing stock that had been abandoned by absentee property owners.
If you drive through Durham, you'll see there's a lot of houses that are boarded up, and that's because absentee landlords can come in. They know that there are a lot of low to moderate income people that need housing. A lot of substandard houses, they used to be called liquor houses, if you want to put it. Actually, 4 walls, windows, no heat, and people used to come and stay for a little while. The landlords didn't do anything. They never complained. A lot of people don't know that they have a voice to say, I don't deserve to live this way. They can't afford anything better, so that landlords don't have any pressure behind them to fix it up.
During the era of about 1950, the elderly people started dying out. And then that's when the landlords started moving into this area. Little by little, they took the houses over, and little by little, the younger generation sold the houses and moved out this area, moved north. And little by little, the landlord took the land for a little or nothing. What we want now is to make this a more family-type community like we have always had. The land trust got in here, and they did a beautiful job. Somehow or other, they gave the people what they wanted. That was housing.
Well, this is a typical Durham Community Land Trustee rehab. We've gutted it with volunteer efforts. We will take this house, and where there's tongue and groove hole, it'll be all new sheetrock, all new walls, new windows, new doors, fully insulated from the attic to the floors, actually blown into the walls. Everything will be new in terms of new fixtures, new kitchen, new doors. This will be back to regular height, and then the addition will be put back on the end. And after the resident selection process, we'll have a new resident move in for a home ownership opportunity.
I rang the doorbell so I can hear how it sounds. Listen, listen. Wow. The house is great. Look at it. This is the living room. This is the kitchen. Look, this is what here's the bathroom. And this is my room.
Is that where you say you want to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
My old house was falling apart, and my grandma decided to move to a new house. And nobody even want to live there.
Come on up, pick up on it.
The Land Trust started work on this street and was invited in by the community with a community march that was organized to board up this house because there were drugs and other illegal activities occurring here that they wanted to restrict, which has been real typical on this street with any of the vacant houses. Since then, we have done 5 rehabs, and over time, it's really become a much more stable street. And this is typical in all the streets that we target. If we're able to get 3, 4, 5 houses rehabbed, tends to stabilize with the home ownership.
Land trusts reduce the cost of acquiring and renovating their properties and the initial purchase price to homeowners with government subsidies and private donations, including contributions of volunteer labor.
I asked them at that time was how much money do I need? About $1,500 to get in the house, to own it. And they were like, yes. They sat down with me and explained to me that I would be purchasing my home, but they would have to retain the ownership of the land. At that particular time, I wanted the house. And when I asked them why did they maintain ownership of the land, they explained to me that the reason they do that is to guarantee lifelong affordability. That should I ever decide to leave this home and move to the traditional market, that they would give this house back to someone who was in the same circumstances I was. I don't own the land, but I have full rights to the land. You know, and the one point I keep telling people, this is not a step, you're not fixed here forever. Should I move on in life, I will leave this house to my children. It will always be affordable to them.
You would have the same rights to that land as any other homeowner would. The only difference is that the land trust reserves the first right. If you decided to sell that house, the land trust would have the first right to purchase that house back from you, or we would help you find another low or moderate income person to purchase that house. And the idea behind that is to keep that housing stock permanently affordable. So that way investors or absentee landlords couldn't come in, buy that property and inflate the cost of rent so that low and moderate income people, would not be able to afford it. If you want to sell your house, there's a resale formula. This formula would give you back what you had invested in the house, plus an inflation factor. But you would not be able to go out and sell that house on the open market at an inflated value.
I know that I didn't buy this house to make a profit. I made it to get ahead. I always wanted to give that another person the same opportunity that I did. This is not the traditional market. You have to understand that principle before you buy a land trust house. All right, man, you want to set the table for me? Yes, ma'am. You or your children must live in the property at least 6 months out of the year. I can't decide, well, I want to move to California for 6 months, so I want to sublease it to somebody. That's also part of the ground lease. You cannot do that. Land trust has built-in safety measures, too. It's meant to protect those who really need it, not those who are trying to get over on the system.
It's very different from just owning land and a piece of property that's all yours. This is ours, but it's also the community's. And so, we're not in this by ourselves, and we never will be. And if we keep the house and pass it on to our descendants, they won't be in it by themselves either. They will sort of inherit our connection with the neighborhood and with the other land trust houses.
I feel that we've had more success this year. We had our annual meeting, and we had great participation from the leaseholders, and there were some renters there. The Land Trust board is made up of a third residents, a third people in business, and then a third people in the community at large. The membership is made up of anyone who's willing to support our cause, and we have quite an extensive membership and people that support the work that we do.